Aloha, mai kako, everyone. Welcome to the Moana Nui podcast in this week's episode of Mana Bombs. My name is Moana, and I am joined today by.
Aloha mai kako, wau Kanoilani Davis from Mana Bombs, powered by Pomahina Designs. Aloha.
Alrighty, everybody. Tonight's Mana Bomb, episode 6, is Be Kind. People don't fake depression, they fake being okay.
Oh, this one is a really. I'm going to preface that if you're listening to this Mana Bomb, just be aware we're going to be talking about some heavy things, but I hope that will help. We will be able to help with providing some solution and awareness around this as well for those who are dealing with this, or perhaps have people who are dealing with something like. I will start off with our Mana Bomb. It's with the many things happening in this world, you never know what someone might be dealing with, what they're pushing through daily, and what may be happening behind closed doors. So we must always love one another. There are many types of depression, but in a snapshot, depression, which is a major depressive disorder, is a common and serious mental disorder that negatively affects how you feel, think, act, and perceive the world. It is characterized by a low mood or loss of pleasure or interest in activities for a long period of time. This is different from regular mood changes and feelings about everyday life. Common signs and symptoms of depression include persistent sadness, anxiousness, or empty mood, feelings of hopelessness or pessimism, feelings of irritability, frustration, or restlessness. Some folks may be quote unquote functioning, right? Functioning through depression. So externally, it's hard to observe. But in their normal actions, you can see something is not in their normal ways. So be kind, love one another, because you never know. I put this Mana Bomb out, I think a few weeks ago or sometime last week. I can't remember at this point. But because we were entering the holidays, working with the families in Lahaina has kind of allowed me to see things in a nutshell through a community of how that affects folks after something as big and loss as Lahaina had to go through last year. So we noticed that during the holidays, it was amplified, right? Mm-hmm. Now imagine that's because of a crisis, but imagine that also happens just on everyday life and everyday people that are a little bit more spread out. We were able to see it because they were all kind of in one space. So I wanted to bring this up because of the functioning, not just the ones who are going through the depression, but the ones who are functioning. I say that because I'm one of those people. I had to recognize early on that I was going through depression. I'm fairly aware. You can be aware of yourself, and I am aware of myself. So I know when I'm in depression. Doesn't mean I have the answers that I can get out. Not necessarily. That means I need to work through it. And that means I have to be persistent within myself to get myself out of it. I think I've been through this. I've been in depression for the past 3 months. People don't know that about me. And it's reflective in if you know me well, and there's not very many people who actually know me well, to be honest. Or at least if they know me well, they don't have the ability to have awareness. So, it's not that I'm faking it. It's just people just don't recognize it. They don't see that my patterns well enough to see that something's off. So I have to, because I know that, I have to verbally tell people I'm actually going through depression. Mm-hmm. Now, whether or not people are like picking up on that is up to them. But also, I think the word depression has been tossed around so easily as an excuse that it's very hard for somebody to accept that somebody maybe who is high functioning like myself is going through something like that.
Right.
So it takes a little bit of observations on all ends. When you hear a loved one or somebody you care about say that they might be going through depression, like you both take it as a grain of salt in the means of, okay, that's a pattern. We know that's not happening. That's an excuse. Versus somebody who's going through it and you're taking that observation to be more aware of, are they getting things done? Are they not usually the same person? Are they not showing up and finishing the things that they said they're finishing? Like all these things. And if you can recognize that in a person that you call a friend or a family member, because you care about them, you'll be able to pick up those nuances really quickly and find ways to support them. And I think part of this also has this understanding that we have to give each other grace, especially the high functioning ones who sometimes don't even know they're depressed, who sometimes don't know. Like for me, I didn't know I was depressed till 2 months after the fact. Because then everything that I was supposed to be having done 2 months ago wasn't done. And I could be like, I swear I did it. I swear I saw it. I swear I looked at it. I swear I picked it up. And like none of it was done. And it was not just one, it was multiple. And it was like, whoa. I had a fire truck. Unfortunately, there was a shooting in my area, very, very close to my hale. And I didn't hear the gunshot. I woke up and I saw red lights on the wall because that was the fire truck and the police cars that were in front of my house. And I could see it reflected on my wall. I didn't even hear the fire truck and the police come. I didn't hear the dogs barking. And I didn't even know people were outside of my house. And in fact, when I woke up, because my dog was next to me shaking. And I'm like, what is wrong with you? I thought he was cold. Whoa, hey. Like these things are happening. When I woke up, it was silent. I couldn't hear a thing, but I could see all the lights. And I didn't understand what was going on, but I didn't have the energy to go and maha oe and be nosy what was going outside. Like I literally had no energy. Normally, if you know me and my nuances, I'm very like high alert because I have kids, because of all the things. I'm like moving because I was raised to be very protective. So at that point, I was like, hey, something is wrong with me. What is happening? Like how can I have not heard all of that noise? Didn't hear even nothing. And I didn't even know what was going on until like maybe days later. And I was like, what happened? And they were like, you didn't hear? And I'm like, no, what happened? And then when they told me, and I was like, so that says a lot about, if anybody knows me, my character. But also just, internally, I recognize that I was functioning very differently than I normally would have. But so that meant I had to communicate that with people. Like, I think I communicated that with you. I communicated that with a lot of orders that I was missing. Like, and I thank God, people were very graceful and compassionate and patient. Because I was like, I'll just give you back your money. Like, I just let it go. Like, take the loss, whatever. I'll take the consequences because I can't help what happened. You can't. It's not your fault. But everybody was just very gracious and very loving, and I that helped me to be better and like get through this. Come on, and I'm not out of it, but I'm at the end of the day, I'm like always pushing myself to continue work. I guess on another note too is check in on your friends. Check in, do a mauli ola check on yourself, and do a mauli ola check on your friends and family, and not just the kind how you doing, and something is wrong, and they go, oh, I'm okay. Be honest, like. Sis, I noticed that these things are happening. Are you sure? Because you can talk to me. Rebuilding that trust again. Because sometimes you don't want to talk about it. Sometimes it's deeper than more. We're afraid people cannot handle. And we're afraid that, I will say for myself, I'm afraid most people I know, they just like no for no. They literally have nothing to offer to help me. And I'm not choosing to relive that moment over and over again just so that you can feel good about yourself that you thought you would help me. That's my manao, and probably I have my own medicine and my own doctor, and then I just my own freaking everything. My own judge, my own jury, my own freaking arresting officer. I'm all of that to myself because I don't know if people have capacity to handle other people's shit because they're going through their shit. So if you're one of those people, then the next best thing is to provide the spaces for them to go or encourage them to go seek counseling. And I'm not going to say counseling always works because I'm tired of telling my counselor, I go to therapy, and tell them the whole thing over and over and over again. They're just like this.
Right.
That doesn't help me. And I'm like, I'm constantly, I need help. I need you to push me. I need you to give me an answer. I need you to give me a lesson. I need you to give me a challenge. Like, I need that. And they cannot. And that's very frustrating sometimes, So you got to find ways to do that. But those places are, if you don't have places to vent or process or speak out loud, at least use it at the minimum for that. So I don't want to say therapy is for everybody, but you do need a place that you can just kind of dump and share.
Yeah.
So just having aloha for everybody during the season is important. If you was that person that had to go beat up auntie because you couldn't get the 50% off of that TV, like there are more important things in life, and I know it's hard for some people. I mean, when you're young, you don't see that. you and I are older, we see that now, right? But if you're younger and you're listening to this, just know that people are become more important than the material. And if you're my age or our age and you still
Yeah.
haven't figured it out, get your shit together because you're too damn old to be dealing with this crap.
To be doing this shit. So true. So true.
All I say is, like, if you're gonna use the rest of your life to go figure something out, let it be something good, not something junky, because you never know. But both I could talk from the inside, and I can talk from the person being the space that I hold space for many, many people. So
yeah,
from both sides, yeah.
No, and I think it's important that you mention that because for people who are going through depression, and some people don't even recognize that they're doing, like you said, like you didn't know. You're probably like one of the most high functioning people that I know. So, so I know that it's possible. But like, there is just so much aloha in like really just creating space for that person to release. And sometimes like you don't have to have a solution. Sometimes it's just like letting them release and then they get it out and you put it to the side and they can move forward in a more healthy way. And that's all that it takes. Like I feel like today we're like, oh, we get brainwashed and saying, oh, I gotta buy this, I gotta do all this materialistic crap, right? Like, but that stuff is sure it's nice for some things, but really what we really need is we need that connection. And in this kind of sense, like what that connection means is really, can you just sit down next to me? Can you put your arm around my shoulder? Can you just like help me feel solid in this moment so I can just, be and let go and try to find the clarity to get back to that space where I can aloha myself. You know what I mean? And I think that's hard. I think it's our own ego and pride too can get in the way, right? Like my husband and I were talking about this too, like especially if you're used to being the person that like everyone else relies on to be the rock, right? Like those are the people that we gotta check on the most because everybody's used to leaning on them. They're not used to being the one having to be the support for that person because they're like, oh, you know, like I remember many years ago on one of the halaus that I first was with when I moved up here, and I think it was Auntie Joy's funeral. And, we was all there, supporting the family. And then I was crying, and just because, like, obviously, like Auntie Joy, like I have a relationship with her. And my hula sisters was like, oh, Moana, when we saw you cry, like, we just bust out crying because if Moana is crying, like, Moana doesn't cry. She doesn't really show emotion. She doesn't do, I feel like I do, but whatever. But, like, they're used to me being somebody who is like, that's the rock. Like, if we need help, we're going to call Moana and she can be there for us. But so, like, sometimes people don't realize that, no, you're not this God, this, perfect thing that doesn't have these emotions. Like, every person is human. And I think when we can remember that and just create that space to let them simply be the person, be the space, be the reminder, like be the aloha, embody the aloha, period, in the way that that person needs. I think that is the greatest thing that you can do for someone, especially if they're not used to being the person that has to ask for help. Yeah.
And that takes a lot of strength for folks to even admit our need and share that need and their want because, it's a big responsibility that we chose to take on ourselves. If you're a leader, if you're in that pillar, if you're that person who does that. And, I encourage those who have ever been touched by anybody to sit down and go, they were a pillar in my life. They were a pillar in my life. They were a pillar in my life. And go and reach out. Even if it's not a check-in. Maybe you're not ready to do the check-in because you got your own things inside. But maybe it's just, thank you for being there for me.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for being the pillar for me in my world. Even if not, I think it's a thankless job. And I think most people like yourself don't look for that reward, that recognition, or even that thanks. Damn, it's really nice. And that's very healing.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you can't afford a gift this year to give anybody because you're struggling financially, the best gift you can give is aloha.
Yeah.
And maybe reaching out to those who have been there for you to remind them how much you mean to them and how thankful you are for them, because they're a resource. It's just like I look at like those pillars not only as people who hold up space so that other people can walk through and be in, but they're also the spring, like a kupuna. They are the punawai. And if you don't tend to that spring and keep it active and loving and flowing, one day that spring is going to dry up and not be there, and you will not have the water you need to survive the next day. And if everybody was looked at with that love, with that honoring, imagine the magic you could do for a person.
100%.
Yeah. So that's the best gift you could give. If you cannot afford a gift, go aloha somebody, which is making me go, ooh, I just sent out a bunch of stuff to people. But like, I'm like, I tend to, some of my kupuna, they don't like to talk. They're not talkers. And every time I just call to say hello, they're like, what do you want? What do you need? Is there anything I could do? It's not because I've ever asked for anything. It's their nature is to give.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I don't need anything. I just wanted to check in on you. And they're like, I'm fine, baby. What's wrong? I'm like, nothing is wrong. And I'm checking on you. And, they're not used to being loved and checked on. So what I would do is I would just send them flowers randomly throughout the year. I like when they cry. It makes me happy.
I know.
Got you. Oh, bag, who is always hard. I know they cry. I got you. You welcome. You love. Sorry about it.
Yeah, and I think like another way, like if you can't afford a gift, let me just give you the old school, the power of a handwritten note. You can post a note, write one note to somebody, acknowledge whatever is good about whatever you love about them, and of course, assuming you see them, give them the note. Just give them the note. Like there's something about handwriting, which is something you don't see a lot anymore. Handwriting combined with the message. Maybe I'm just old school, but like I'm the type where like, yeah, you can buy me a gift and that's great. I aloha that. I mahalo that. But like if you made me something, I don't care how simple it is. I'm like, wow, you took the time, you put the thought and the mana'o into like what would Moana appreciate, what would uplift her, and you did it. And it was that little thing. And that's the kind of stuff I put on my wall. And to other people be like, what is that? There's a lot of, behind that gesture that I really appreciate, because at the end of the day, like I'm not a things person. And as much as I appreciate the things, it's not the stuff that lasts, So I guess I just give that message, during the holiday season because I know it's rough out here. It's rough out here. So please don't feel like you need to go buy, put yourself in debt and do all of that, whatever's. Like nobody needs that. Please. Nobody needs that. And if they do, maybe we need to recheck that circle. Maybe we gotta clean up that circle. If that is,
Yeah, I think what you said something that's very important that we have to acknowledge and bring awareness to and consciousness to is we seek to be valued, not to be validated. And you said that, you know what you like and what makes you happy. And that's a part of these relationships we build with people. Again, I will say it over and over because this is an issue. Stop being self-centered.
Yeah.
Center yourself so that you're able to see others, because others also are important, not just you. And so when you start to bring value to those who are around you, you listen, you're kilo. Yeah, she likes to wear purple. These are her characters. These are the things she enjoys. This is her nuances. That's what I'm going to focus on because I need to show her she's valued. Because that's not my love language. I have to instill in her. It's her love.
Her love language. Yeah, 100%.
And so when I understand that in friendship, as is in relationships, as in work relationships, as in anything, now we can start to do it that way. We value somebody and you don't have to seek validation. You just would like to be valued. And I want to makavalu that into the world of culture and practitioners. A lot of us still practice doing ho'okupu and ceremonies and aha. And so there's a lot that goes into that. So before we go into an aha or a ceremony, be it for Lono Ika Makahiki is a good example because that's right, we're in the season right now, which is Happy New Year's to all of you folks. We're in Lono Ika Makahiki. That's our Hawaiian New Year's, is this idea of I have to make sure that I personally am in kapu before I even do the ceremony. And then I have to go gather all the ho'okupu. And I have to make sure that ho'okupu doesn't touch certain things. I have to make sure that I'm a certain way when I pick the ho'okupu. I don't just pick any. Like there's all these nuances, work that I have to do before I even give ho'okupu, which only takes what? My portion of giving a ho'okupu only gonna take me like 2-3 minutes. But they see my relationship with Lono Ikamakahiki is this idea that you are so worth it that I will do this much for you. You are so worth it that I will travel the skies and into the ocean to get to you. You are so worth it that I will put a couple in myself from all the things that bring me joy in life because I love you. You are so important that I am willing to only go out and gather your things on your days for you and the things that you love. Because I know that if I take those things into consideration, that empowers you, ho'omana you, to do what you do best, which is you bring the rain to us. You feed our aina so I can eat. You show up when I need it the most throughout the year. And if I don't take care of those who take care of me, what's going to happen in this world? And that's friendships. That's relationships. That's our work. That's our practices. That's the hobbies we do and the people we love. But we made it about me. I don't like do that. It's too much work. But you like, when you like, where you was, right? So I think we got to really makavalu. What does that really mean to us? What do these people mean to us? And as we start to see where people lie there are going to be the ones who you are like, that one I wasn't really peely with, but that one honors me a lot more than this one. This one takes me for granted.
Yeah.
I need to remove myself from that one. Boundaries. Ipapohaku. Kanawai. I gotta set those. You can come when you're ready. But until then, I'm gonna give attention to those who aloha me more.
Right. Yep. I definitely see that in all contexts. Ohana, work, relationships, friendships, all of that. It's good to, reassess as we go on. And like you said, doesn't mean that we not really friends anymore. It might just mean only for right now. I gotta do this so that you can hopefully you paying attention and maybe check yourself before you wreck yourself.
And but you'll see how quickly it's easy to just let people go.
Yeah.
And how people are okay with you letting them.
Aye.
And that's good. That's not a bad thing. That's not wasting anybody's time. It sucks, but at the end of the day, it's like, whew, one more monkey off my back. I'm glad.
Yeah, and then it also like you're creating space for people, better relationships, better things to come in. And I think, especially now, like as we close out a year, I always think about like, okay, I gotta declutter, I gotta make room because if these things are occupying the space, then I'm preventing other things from coming in, So I think that's timely too for this message. But
so I guess the biggest thing is at the end of the day is be kind. People don't fake depression, they fake being okay. And many of us will go out being functioning, because we got stuff we gotta get done. And we know that. And we've put more of that in front of us. And although that's a great way of looking at life to get things done, it's not really all that healthy. So aloha the people who are around you. Treat them as if treating them with aloha is treating yourself with aloha.
With aloha, yeah.
Honoring others is really honoring yourself. And if you remember that, then it's easy to honor everybody that you love and you care for.
Bye.
And seek the help you need when you need it. There are people, we still have, although Malu Ika Ulu is done, I want to plug this in through Ho'akamana, which is our Native Hawaiian organization, our nonprofit. We are still, Malu Ika Ulu, our crisis counselor program is done. We do not have any more funding. All of our ulu are gone. I'm keeping one ulu and myself on. And we're going to continue working. We're just going to try to find funding to keep her there. And then we still have folks that we're still working with in Lahaina, regardless of funding or not. Like that has not stopped. If anybody is still interested in like donating to a Native Hawaiian nonprofit organization this season, we would love for you to help. We're looking to raise funds for supplies to provide for our families, as well as even to employ just one to employ our ulu, not myself, but another person to keep her on as long as possible to continue being a crisis counselor towards for the families across the Pai'aina and into the continent. And she could also be useful to you. You know, if you need a person to talk to and you just like Moana had shared earlier and you needed to talk and share, myself and this other person are open and available. You just reach out, go to hoakamana.org, send us a message. We can schedule some time with you and we can do a Zoom or a phone call. Again, even if it's just to listen, if you just need to dump, just dump. We're okay. We don't even have to answer. If you're like that kind of person who does, if you don't ask me a question, I don't usually answer and I'm not going to try to like have these solutions, but I'll check in, you know, what about this? Do you think about this? Or how would this work? Or what do you need? So like, and I'll be listening for those needs and seeing if we can provide resources for you. So yeah. So I just wanted to do that plug. The seasons are hard. Ho'akamana is still here. We are here for the health and well-being of Native Hawaiians and Indigenous peoples in Hawaii, as well as on the continent. Please reach out if we need help.
Mahalo. Yes, all of the wonderful work still going on. You guys have been one of the constants, I think, in the community. And, you know, we wish we had the resources to like keep this going forever and ever and ever. But, you know, like if there are people out there who can help, definitely reach out, hoakamana.org. Or if you know somebody who like, you know, again, as part of alohaing them, like, you know somebody who needs help, but maybe they won't reach out, you know, maybe encourage them to reach out themselves too.
Oh, I also want to put it out there. If anybody is willing to be trained to become a crisis counselor and want to volunteer their time to be a voice for those to also call upon, please let me know. I mean, we could figure that out. We can use volunteers. We don't have funds, but if you're willing to give in that way, we're here because people still need help. People are still struggling.
Absolutely.
Alrighty. Well, thank you again, Moana. Mahalo, everybody, for listening to our Mana Bombs. It's me, Kanoilani Davis, calling in from the island of Molokai Nui Ahina. Mana Bombs, powered by Pomahina Designs.
And myself, Moana, from the Moana Nui podcast, broadcasting from the diaspora. Mahalo, everyone, for tuning in. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, and tune in every Monday for Mana Bomb Monday. Take care, everybody. Until we see you guys again. Ahui ho.
Aloha.